All right, Kenman here, and today we are continuing with die project number 41, round 2, fight. 41 was the Trivisa Andromeda, where we took it apart and got it all prepped up. You can check it out right there. We're also going to be doing, I don't know what I'm going to call it, 41.5 or whatever. I'm never actually going to be able to rebuild this. But these are scales that was sent to me by one of my subscribers, and we're going to be doing a die with it as well. So I've got it. We're going to kind of just throw it in with this one. I'm going to stop talking and get these in. I have the Andromeda scales on these hooks, so it's easy to get them in the die. I'm going to drop them in there, splash them around a little bit. Wow, look at how quickly they started turning yellow. That is great. You don't want any air bubbles on there. An air bubble is a spot where a die is not hitting it, so therefore it won't soak in as well, and then you don't have a uniform color. I'm trying to get it nice and uniform. I'm going to kind of slide this out of our way for now. We'll be keeping these scales. Like I said, that subscriber sent those to me. We're going to be doing a special die with that, and then I'm going to be mailing it back to them, so I won't actually be able to showcase exactly how it looks when it's finished. Maybe I'll get him to send me a pic. Let's see. This is a new yellow that I picked up. Oh, wow. And I am glad I did. Wow. Okay, I'm moving this over, pulling out this water right here. The dye will be neutralized. It's basically liquid dye mixed with water. About a couple ounces of the dye to about 20 ounces of the water is this mixture right here. And then I got it close to boiling, just about boiling. I'm actually turn it down just a little bit. So when you take it out and put it in this water, it neutralizes what's happening, rinses it off, so it gives you the true kind of color where you're at. Wow. I wish I got this yellow a long time ago. I'm actually going to be doing a fade dye with this one here, but the base color is going to be yellow. See how it instantly looks a little darker when it's got coating on there? Yeah, so the base color of that is going to be yellow, so I'm going to do the whole thing in yellow here, and then we'll take it out and I'll swap out the colors, and then we'll start doing the fade into more of a sunset kind of a look. I would usually get a couple of hooks and do both at the same time. I don't know where I put those other ones, but long story short, because this is a new yellow, before I did that one over there, I kind of wanted to see what I would get. So these were kind of a test. And it's, oh, this yellow is perfect. I'm actually very excited about this. I am going to need to now find some knives that I want to do specifically yellow. So we're going to swap out, get these going quick. And I'm not going to drop the first one in until I have the second one ready. With a yellow like this, and we're going to be doing a combo, you won't necessarily notice, but I've had situations where I went and threw one in and it sat in the die for about 5-10 seconds longer than the other one. And when I took it out and put it back together, I realized that it was actually a little bit darker because of that few seconds that it spent in the die longer than the other. So I like to make sure they're both ready, drop them both in at the same time. Now those are in, no bubbles on them, they're going to be going. And I'm going to rinse these off quick. All right. So I'm just going to, oops, sorry about the camera there. Just make sure I got all the base dye off of there. And now they're just wet and I can just dry them off. Let me get this other towel. Move this up for just a moment. We're going to let these sit in there for a little bit, so we don't need to worry about it quite yet. I'm going to dab these dry. When we go to put the knife back together, I'll make sure it's completely dry, but since we're going to be going into another color, I don't really need to completely dry them. But we can see where we're at compared to the jade that it was. They are now nice and yellow. This is a fantastic yellow. I'm really happy about it. It is this one here, Rit Golden Yellow. The other yellow I had, I can't remember what it was. I'd had it for a few years, but it just did not give me this yellow that I'm getting from this other dye. Oh yeah, this is great. This is fantastic. It's really interesting because you pour it in there, and dye generally is fairly true to form, meaning it's the color that it's going to be. You got red dye, it's red. You got blue dye, it's blue. This yellow dye is clearly orange. It looks like it's orange. So it kind of makes you worried, like, well, I'm not trying to go orange. I have orange dye that also looks orange. But this is clearly giving us a nice yellow. All right, see how dark it is? We're going to go into here, little rinse. See how much it lightened up just like that? So when it's sitting in there with the dye on it, it looks darker than it actually is. So you do have to do that rinse to kind of make sure it's where you want it to be. And it is not quite as yellow as I want, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it in there for a few more seconds. How does everyone feel about this? I think it's going well. Dye Project 41, I mean, we've been doing this for a while. If you're enjoying it, hit that like button. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. It helps me out. I really appreciate it. I have such a fun time doing this, though. I believe that it's just being artistic, doing fun things like this just is a great expression for me to just, I don't know, I enjoy it. I have fun. And if I can kind of help some other people learn a little bit about it, work on it themselves, then awesome. Okay, that is probably where I want it to go. I'm going to turn this yellow off. Wow, look at that. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so as always, I kind of go in there and just wipe it off, make sure there isn't any excess spots of dye sitting there. And now we've got this in a nice yellow. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut, and I'll come back with a different dye and we'll continue this process. Okay, I've transferred over. I got my motor set up to raise and lower this set of scales here. I've got a little spacer in between them. I got them sideways. I'm going to try to do a fade, but sideways this time. So here's a couple of the fades that I've done before. Obviously vertical, yellow to red, and then this yellow to blue. Very fun. That's what we're going to attempt, but I'm going to try it sideways. So we're going to see how it goes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get this other stuff out of the way because I have an idea and I want it to fade, but it's so thin that I'm going to basically just drop a little bit of it in there. And then we're going to go ahead and see. I'm going to tilt this at a little bit more of an angle like that. Okay, let's go. So I have this little this water bottle, pressurized water bottle that I can spritz some water. So basically when it gets wet, it's going to seep up. And I don't want it to seep all the way up. I just want it to get close. So I've got it set on the motor, and I'm going to actually drop it down instead of bring it up, which is what I usually do. So we're kind of doing an opposite dye this time. I'm trying to bend it so it looks nice and even. Now I'm going to use the motor to bring it down, hitting the button now so you can see how slow it actually drops. The motor I have drops or moves at about 3 revolutions per minute, so it is a very slow rotation. Nice thing about that though is you can get it to really, do things like this. Oh, there's a little bump, and we're about to dip. Once we dip, I'm going to get her down, not quite halfway, and then I'm going to hit stop. Right about there, I just stopped it. Let it sit for a second. I'm actually swapping the wires to the polarity of the battery, and then that's going to bring it back up. So now I'm going to start bringing it back up a little bit, and I'm going to stop it right there, and I'm going to do a little bit of a spritz. Oop. And let's see how it's making it kind of bleed up the piece a little bit. That was kind of what I was hoping it would do. but then I can also rinse it off right away so that I can kind of control it. All right, I'm gonna bring it back up a little bit more now. My spacers didn't hold it sideways as well as I'd hoped. And this little teeny bit of water that I'm adding to the dye is, it's thinning it out a little bit, but not by much. And I still have a little bit more of that RIT dye I can add. I didn't use the whole bottle. That's what's kind of nice, is you can reuse this stuff over and over. I can use the dye. You let it cool off, put it in a container, and then get it out and you can use it again. See, I'm kind of using this to splash that red up. I don't know how well that shows on camera. But I'm just kind of using it to try to get it to kind of head up there so I'm not getting a solid hard line. I'm trying to get that to be more of a fade. All right, turn the motor back on, bring it up a little bit. Let it sit there. This is definitely experiments doing it sideways like this. You have a lot less room, so it's a little bit more tough to control that short distance versus when you do it vertically the other way. You've got that it's a good 30 seconds to a minute or more to go from this to this. It's a lot more length, as you can see when it's coming out of the dye. All right, raise it up a little bit more and then let the bottom be the darkest. Looks like I kind of have a solid line there, which I kind of want to see if I can fix. It's not something that's going to be easy though. Once you get a hard line, see, it's almost like a hard line on this side here. And then a little bit better fade on this one. It's also not getting very dark red. Oof, that was too much. Alright, get it off the top. If you do that full submersion like that, it's out of focus there, sorry about that. You're losing that solid yellow, and now I've got some red on the top. I'm going to give these a rinse. This is just a water I've got just off camera there. Sorry, it was a little bit easier when it's on this hook. So this is what we're kind of looking at right now. It's kind of a weird fleshy fade. Interesting. Now I'm not quite sure how I can make that darker red. It's not soaking in quite the way that I would have imagined it to. Usually the red can get pretty red pretty fast. And the bottom is definitely not really getting very red. It's kind of peach, if anything. That's what I kind of want, is it to fade up like that. Okay, we're getting somewhere. I think it's a little more patience on this one, Kenman. Although I lost my yellows, but what I think I can do is continue with this, get it nice and red or whatever the color we want on one end, and then once we're done I can go back, flip them over, and then hit this side with some yellow again, and then perhaps I'll be able to get that a little bit more yellow. I don't know how bright, because when you start dulling it up with any colors of dye, that color is there permanently, and so it's going to be a permanent kind of a darker. You can't make it bright again. Bringing it up a little bit. All right, let the tips sit again. Every time I'm grabbing that with my hand, I'm rinsing it off in the water. If I were to just leave that die on my hand, I would have red fingers that would be permanently red for a couple of days. I actually am noticing it's under my nail and in my cuticle area. So next couple days videos, if you comment and you're like, hey, I know why your finger is all red on the end there. Okay, this is a fun one. Kind of a strange experiment. We'll see how it turns out. What it ultimately is, it's a game. And we're waiting for the scoreboard at the end of the game. What's the scoreboard at the end gonna say? Is it gonna look like a cool knife? Or is it gonna be waiting for potential, we don't know, die project number 15 somewhere in limbo? Let's hope not. Actually, I've said it and I've said it and I've said it, and I'm going to get back to 15. We're going to make it work. We're going to make it work. All right, so up one more time, and I'll let that very tip sit in there. This almost feels like a fishing lure. A little red belly and a really kind of a simple fleshy kind of top. Almost makes me think of a fishing lure. Who likes to go fishing? Meet me in Minnesota. Go fishing anytime you want. Okay, let's go up the rest of the way here. And I am going to give it one more splash. And then we're going to go into the water here and see where we're looking. Alright, off and off. I can turn my die off and we can shimmy over here a little bit. Alright, what did we do to ourselves today, Kenman? Huh. Alright. That's definitely something. It's, like I said, fishing lure. This is interesting, to say the least. Alright, let's get him on this black towel, a little better contrast, get him a little dry so we can see where we're at for now. Alright, comment below. What do we think about where we're at here? Interesting fade from the front to back. Alright, we are going to cut to the next stage. All right, we are back at the table. Dinner is served. Let's put this Andromeda back together. All right, hopefully we can make a smooth job of this. So the liners are nested in there quite nicely. It does have a captive pivot. You can see that little foot flat spot there. The flat spot needs to be down. So I'm going to line that up and then keep my finger on the bottom so that it does not fall back out while I get this ready. Okay, the bearings have an open side and a closed side, and in this case the open side was to the blade. I watch for that every time I put a knife together or take it apart so that I can put it back the same way it was. In some cases it may not make a difference, but in cases like this with the bearings, it could be important. So I like to make sure to pay attention to that and get it back the way that it was so that I can keep the same action as it originally had. Is that supposed to drop in further? I feel like I'm not pushing that over the top enough. Maybe it's fine. Okay. There we go. Get the other side of the captive pivot in there. We can bring that down. When you put a knife back together, you got to be careful about centering the blade. So I'm not going to crank everything completely down yet. Just get it started. And then once everything's kind of ready, then you can tighten it down and make sure that you keep everything is centered and nice. And if you kind of mess it up, you can always loosen everything back up and make some adjustments. Like I said, I'm just kind of getting these in. It did have a, oh, this is T6. These are for like the pocket clip. It's a wire pocket clip, but I am opting for not putting that back on for now. I like with these smaller knives, no clip, and you can just drop it in your fifth pocket. But these pocket clip screws are also holding that back spacer in, so they need to be there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and crank. That is not straight, and that is strange because that needs to be straight in order to squeeze correctly. The flat pivot, of course, it's going to be twisted. Well, that seems to be correct, but it's not going through properly, and I'm pretty sure that was straight when I originally, man, come on. It just doesn't want to push through all the way, and it's supposed to be flush. There it went. Not sure what wasn't clicking right, but it wasn't flush in there, and you can see now it's straight and flush. So yeah, now that I've got everything in, I'm going to crank this down. Boom. I'm going to crank down the rest of these, but not super tight yet. I'm going to go ahead and just close this blade. All right. That pivot is tight. I'm going to go make sure these are all nice and tight now. And these pocket screws, or pocket clip screws, sorry. Okay, we've got it. Now we need to loosen the pivot a little. Blade is in the center and is solid still. Boom. Oops. We got it. Boom. Stuff out of the way. We have done it, everyone. Trivisa Andromeda is complete with its die. Looks like the action, it flicks out nice, closes easy. Oops. What's everyone think about this die? It definitely looks lighter. The yellow part sticks out more than the orange. Originally kind of did this sideways die because I wanted to do a test for another die coming up. Project, what is it, 38. And this was just kind of a thing. I wanted to do a test to see how well it would work. And it looks good. I'm not sure if I want to keep this like this or maybe add some more to it. Comment below, what do you think? I am happy with this knife, though. It is a cool knife. Okay, let's take some looks, see how like yellow it looks from there. Boom, you get the fade. More solid orange on this direction. It's interesting. I like this horizontal kind of style. I'm going to try some more with it. I don't know if I'm going to keep this like this or going to darken it up or maybe try to make this more yellow. Like I said, comment below. Tell me what you think. These little mini knives are fun. I am not going to put the pocket clip back on it. This is a good little size for putting in that fifth pocket. And It's just another one of those good ones they can have as a secondary knife. I originally got it because it reminded me of the CJRB Pyrite. They're very similar in size, right? I did the laser mark on that. Check that out there if you haven't seen it before. Good stuff. I like these small things. Stay sharp. See you soon.